1492, the homelands of American Indians extended uninterrupted from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. Over the course of 4 centuries, the original inhabitants were stripped of most of their homelands by Europeans and Americans. Their lifestyle were threatened by the white settlers, and the native population shrank from 7 to 10 million to fewer than 250,000.
Indian Americans in 18th centuries were highly connected with nature. They had their own beliefs and complex religious ceremonies, child rearing practices and organizations, and ran government by consensus rather than by majority rules.
They were craftsmen. They were hunters. They were organized. They were warriors. They lived in families. And they were civilized.
Native Americans lived in societies with their own culture and in harmony with nature until one day
when Europeans arrived.
America was not the same again.
Before the 18th and 19th century, Native American literature was mainly verbal. In the 19th century, the Native American literature was text-based and written in English.
One of the primary skills that Native American writers gained from the dominant society of the time was the writing of autobiographies.
Many of these autobiographies were translated from their native language to English, but were strong enough to convey their feelings and events taken place at the time.
American literature in the early 1800s was very popular and mainstream. American writers such as James Fenimore Cooper, Catherine Maria Cedric, and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow were all captivating American audiences across the nation. Their historical romances of frontier and Indian life in the early American days created a unique form of American literature.
In 1830, pursued by President Andrew Jackson, the U.S. Congress passed the Indian Removal Act, which authorized the removal of Indian tribes into a large, unorganized, permanent Indian territory west of Mississippi River.
In the background of the fights, a very negative image was formed. Cherokee, who was considered civilized and had adapted to the Western way of living, were forced from their homes and marched hundreds of miles to the Indian Territory, which is nowadays Oklahoma. It would have taken a long struggle and large amount of native literature before the image would change.
Early Native American writing exhibited the struggle experienced by the authors to find their own voice within the cultures of America. But later, they began to express the humiliation felt by Native American people over their less than human treatment by the dominant American society. These early writers were driven by their awareness of the power of writing as a tool in changing attitudes. But it took a long time before this could overcome the deep prejudices during the conflicts between Americans and natives in the bloody Indian Wars in the 18th and 19th centuries.
Black Hawk was born in 1767 in the Rock River in the western Illinois. He was a war leader and a warrior of the sunk American Indian tribe. Black Hawk joined the British in several battles in the War of 1812. In 1832, Black Hawk led his people across the Mississippi River to protect them from the Americans.
Even though he did not speak English, some portion of the autobiography ranged through when Black Hawk reportedly said, "I reflected upon the ingratitudes of the whites when I saw their fine houses, rich harvest, and everything desirable around them. I recollected that all this land has been ours, for which me and my people have never received $1, and that the whites were not satisfied until they took our village and our graveyards from us and removed us across the Mississippi." The struggle Black Hawk faced in voicing his beliefs in a society was hostile to his life, but paved the way for the future native writers.
In 1797 to 1874, Patashiro was a Skidi. This name also meant lout. Lout is a French legend of a human who changes into a wolf at his own will. Most people said the name meant generous chief. In 1817, he earned publicity for his action, national newspaper. He was one of the 4 bands of the Pawnee Nation who occupied lands. in the old Missouri Territory. Horatio was one of the several Native Americans brought to Washington for an extended stay, where he gave the speech in 1821 to 1822 at a conference where he met President Monroe.
Petalashero's speech of the Pawnee Chief appears in the text of Buchanan's Sketches of the North American Indians. The speech was given in front of President Monroe with the hopes they could find mutual ground and relay back to their people for the sake of both of their people. Throughout the whole speech, Petalashero is trying to relate to the white man. He relates both groups by saying the North American Indians were created by the same great spirit as the white man. In Petalashero's speech, he says, "We worship him not as you do. We differ from you in appearance and manners as well as in our customs, and we differ from you in our religion. We have no large houses as you have to worship the Great Spirit in. If we had them today, we should not want them tomorrow. For we have not, like you, a fixed habitation. We have no settled homes except our villages."
The US government's Removal Act in 1830 required the Cherokee to be relocated to Indian Territory. Some of its Cherokee wanted to fight removal, while others, like Bodino, forced Cherokee to accept relocation. This caused a violent division within the tribe, and Bodino became a target because he was vocal about accepting relocation when writing in his newspaper. Following the Trail of Tears, a long, deadly march that killed over a third of Cherokee, Bodinot was labeled as a traitor and later killed by rival factions.